Okay, let's work through another exercise using the encoder. What I've done here is I took the carotid endarterectomy exercise that we used in exercise 2 in this course, and I built some demographics around it so that you can code those on the first fields that you're going to get to. I added additional diagnoses so that we can work through how you do that on the encoder. Our principal diagnosis is the carotid artery stenosis, which you may recall is the diagnosis chiefly responsible for the reason the patient is admitted to the hospital. Principal procedure is usually your procedure directly related to your principal diagnosis. So that's how we're going to choose those. Then the operative report is the one that you have seen when you work through this in course. One change you're going to see on the answer key here is that the encoder added a third procedure code. And once I looked at the logic behind that, I think it's right. So I'm going to be changing our answer key. The answer key came from a textbook that I was using, but in looking at the logic behind what the encoder did, I think the encoder is correct in adding that third procedure. So I'll show you that as we work through here. So you're going to need to either print this out or somehow have a way to look at it so that you can populate these fields here on the first page. E78, I had already put in her admission and discharge dates here. It's the DRG finder and a Medicare grouper. If she had been a younger patient, not a Medicare population, you may have used the all patient refined grouper, but for now we'll stick with Medicare. She will be going home. You see how my cursor is really just very touchy here. I will try not to move it all over the page because it'll make you dizzy. So she's going to go home. So now we're going to put in our principal diagnosis, which is the stenosis. We start typing, and it gives us these choices, and it is the first one. What this little box does is going to tell you the options you're going to have if you choose stenosis. These are the options that you're going to have in the next field. So it kind of gives you a heads up of what path you're going down. Is this right or wrong? So you can change it sooner if it isn't. It is the carotid. None of this applies. It is right. And she does have hypertension. She has coronary artery disease. None of those. She is a smoker. Cigarettes. She doesn't have any remission or withdrawal. So it would be diagnosis uncomplicated. There's no alcohol abuse. And then you get to your procedures. Okay, what I'm going to do now is go back so you can go through that again. I'm going to type stenosis. Oops. It would be this one. It's an artery. It's the carotid artery. None of those apply. It's the right carotid artery. She does have hypertension. She does have heart disease. One of her diagnoses is coronary heart disease. None of those apply. And we don't want to screen more. She is a smoker for cigarettes. None of these apply. There's no alcohol or environmental exposure to smoke. So now it gets you to procedures. So what it wants you to do now is code the procedures, and it gives you a choice of things that are going to be coded. We know the endarterectomy was coded, should be coded. It was an internal carotid. It was an open approach. No qualifier. No more arteries involved. There was other procedures though. There was an angioplasty, internal carotid. there was no device. Remember, the stent was used and then removed, so no device. And you see, as we click through here, we're building our code over here. No qualifier. No more arteries involved. This is the interesting part. You have to choose no more procedures to get to the bovine patch. I don't know why that is. Again, I don't know. This is why sometimes encoders can miss things or lead coders down the wrong path. And that's why it's important to know how to use your code book. But in this case, I know from experience that I'm going to have to check no more procedures in order to get to that patch graft. And the reason why this is on here is because it's not uncommon to have a patch graft anytime there's cardiac surgery or coronary artery surgery. It will be a patch graft. It's bovine, so it's non-autologous. What it's doing now is telling you the codes you have so far. And now here you go. You see where it added that dilation of the carotid artery here? That was not on the answer key, but I think it's right. Here's your bovine patch angioplasty. This is the removal of the plaque from the artery walls. Now, we know from our information that we have more diagnoses. So when you look over here, we coded the stenosis, the hypertension, the coronary artery disease, and the smoking. We did not code the history of the breast cancer and the mastectomy. So what we're going to do now is go into Add Diagnosis, History, Personal History of Malignant Neoplasm, Breast. There's no other neoplasm sites. We don't want to code anything that has to do with, they're implying, is there something here that would be important to know? In this case, no, it isn't. There's your personal history. So now you want to add your diagnosis for your status post mastectomy. Status post. We are going to do, let's see. Mastectomy on the right, I believe. There's your acquired abscess. So we're going to continue. So now we have your principal diagnosis, your occlusion and stenosis of your right carotid artery, your hypertensive heart disease without heart failure, I-119, your cigarette dependence, your personal history of breast cancer, and their mastectomy. Your procedures are, your principal is the extirpation of the plaque from the carotid artery walls, the dilation of the internal carotid artery with the shunt, which was then later removed, so it's not coded as a device, and then the bovine patch angioplasty to repair the artery wall where the incision was made. So now you see you've been assigning here to Medicare DRG 39, it has a weight of 1.1324. I want to show you a couple of things here. If the principal, according to the doctor, had been the hypertensive heart disease, you go here, you right-click, you make this move to principal. Now you see you're in DRG 254 with a weight of 181. All I'm showing you in this field is how you always want to code accurately, but if you incorrectly put one of the diagnoses as the principal, it can really impact your DRG assignment. But we know that this one should be the stenosis as your principal and the endarterectomy as your principal procedure. Hopefully this has been helpful, and if you let me know if we need to do some more or any questions that you might have.